Well, it was just a regular day and had nothing to do. My parents were out and so I was just quiet around home and my friend messaged me and he originally wanted to go spearfishing and I was like, oh, well, you know, I don't have any spearfishing gear so I may as well go to the blowhole because I'd been there before. I was treating it pretty casually because I'd done it before. He hadn't done it, so I was kind of showing him the way around. And yeah, just took a wrong turn on the way down to where you meant to jump. So I was up higher than that. And then I started scaling down before him. He was in front of me, and I don't know, I just lost my footing. The rocks gave way, and then it was just kind of a blur. Like I was falling for a while, hit the cliff face a few times, and then I'd landed, and then I just remember looking up at my friend, and he was screaming, "Are you all right?" and stuff, and I just knew I'd broken a lot of stuff in my body.
Emergency teams were called to a blowhole on Warriewood Beach late yesterday after the 16-year-old fell 10 metres. It took an ambulance helicopter about an hour to rescue the boy in a very delicate operation, and the teenage boy was taken to hospital with multiple fractures that paramedics say it could have been much worse.
I just got home and my phone rang. Prue called me, Blake's mum, and she just said, "Look, Blake's been in an accident," and I could hear the chopper in the background. She said he's fallen off a cliff.
He alerted all the lifeguards and called 000, and then I was kind of drifting in and out. So before I knew it, everything was there. So
yeah, it was pretty shocking at the time. I just couldn't believe it. And she couldn't talk for very long at the time, so she said she had to go because there's a lot of paramedics turning up. The helicopter was there, and a few of the reporters, and she wasn't too clear on what had actually happened.
It was really confusing. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know what hospital. I thought I was at, I think, Mona Vale first. I was underestimating the kind of seriousness of it. And yeah, I had lots of tubes coming in and out of me. But I was so sedated, I didn't really think much of it at the time.
Well, it was pretty devastating, really. I mean, it's kind of like every father's worst nightmare coming true. I mean, I wouldn't wish this upon anybody, really. It was kind of surreal. Like the whole thing was just rolling along. Like we got to the hospital when on the night that it happened. And they took us into a special room, like it was like a parents' room, and we were sitting in there for a couple of hours, and with Prue and Jason, and just waiting for news about what had happened to him. And then the head nurse came out and said, "Look, he's had some pretty extensive, serious injuries," and you know, we all reacted in our own particular way, but you know, we waited till about 3 o'clock in the morning to hear the news that you know, the surgery went well, but it was still touch and go for the next 48 hours, and he'd be in a coma for 3 days. And then they took us in to see him one by one, which was it's probably one of the hardest things anybody could ever do, really.
I didn't know I was just coming out of a coma as well, so it was really confusing, but yeah, just wanted to see my parents, know what was happening. Well, they were kind of trying to keep it on mostly the down low, trying to hide the actual seriousness of the event. So I was just taking things sort of moment by moment, just trying to get through it. 8 weeks in a hospital bed sounds like hell to anyone. And it was really, really hard at times, but just had to try to stay positive as much as I could. And yeah, it's mostly a mind game, just trying to keep yourself occupied and focus your energy on other things, and I had my parents there with me every day, which kept me sane. Having
to lie on your back for 8 weeks is a tough ask for anybody, especially a 17-year-old boy. But it was really tough. I mean, luckily he had such good support around him with his stepdad and his mum as well. So we all took it in turns, staying with him. But towards the end, it kind of got a lot easier because you could move around and had all the tubes and everything else removed, so I had a little bit more freedom.
I can only imagine how difficult it is to come from that sort of extensive amount of injuries, the surgeries, the rehab, I mean, I'm a little bit of an athlete myself. I've gone through injuries. I know how hard that can be. Nothing to this sort of magnitude. So I know, firstly, financially, it's going to be very difficult. Emotionally, mentally, it's going to have to be really tough. So anything we can do to help, it's the least we can do. We do a lot of charity work anyway around the community, particularly with kids, troubled kids. So, you know, Lee's a good bloke. The story really did hit home for me and my business partner, Conan. If we can help someone that we already know, it just makes it all that more rewarding.
Well, originally I heard it in the news, and I heard a young kid had a terrible accident and fell off a cliff, and I remember thinking when I was 16 that would have been a life-changing moment, and then of course I found out it was Lee's son and there was a connection. And Lee's been a good supporter and a great guy for a lot of time. I've known him for nearly a decade, and when I found out it was Lee's child, Blake, we really wanted to be involved. And it's a small community with TBS, with Capital Finance and Telstra and the dealerships, and it was the right thing to do.
The support and the calls and emails and like the constant questions of how's your son, and it really brings out the best in people. I've been really amazed at the generosity from the boys as well. Chris and Conan have just been absolutely fantastic in putting things together for Blake, and the gifts as well. It's very humbling.
I'm blown away. I've never had that sort of attention from anyone, and to see that they've realised it and have really made a difference about this situation, it's just made it like all the better. A lot of my friends would never ever go there again. They're my close friends that have seen, the results of what can actually happen. And you don't think about it until something like that's actually happened to someone you really know. And but yeah, whenever I see people there, it makes me feel sick to my stomach. It's like they don't know what they're putting on the line, like what could really happen.